Okay, have you ever wondered who the original DJ was? I'm talking about a master of the musical remix, a guy who was mashing up tracks way before anyone even knew what a mashup was.
Think about it. That epic theme from the last superhero movie you saw. Or that beat from a viral dance that gets totally stuck in your head. They seem like they're from completely different planets, right? Well, turns out they share a secret connection, and it goes back almost 100 years.
And this is the guy, George Gershwin. Now, I want you to forget everything you think you know about old-timey composers in wigs. This dude wasn't some stuffy, formal guy. He was a musical rebel who basically changed the entire game by asking one simple question. Yeah, but why not?
To really get how he broke all the rules, we've got to rewind. Let's go all the way back to the beginning, to a super crowded neighborhood in Brooklyn where this whole story kicks off.
So get this, when his parents finally bought a piano, it wasn't even for him. It was meant for his older brother, Ira. But George, this restless, super hyper kid who could never, ever sit still, was just completely drawn to it. He basically hijacked the piano, and he never looked back.
And you know what? He got serious fast. He started taking formal lessons when he was 12, but by 15, he made a massive, life-changing decision. He dropped out of high school. I mean, can you even imagine telling your parents you're leaving school to go all in on music? That takes some serious guts. He was betting everything on himself.
And this is where things get really interesting. See, Gershwin was living in two totally different musical worlds at the same time. During his lessons, he studied in the old classical masters, Chopin and Liszt. But then, out on the streets, he was hearing something brand new, something electric, the jazz and blues music that was pouring out of clubs in neighborhoods like Harlem. Back then, everyone saw these as completely separate, but Gershwin, he loved both.
So, you're 15, you just dropped out of school, you need a job, right? So where do you go? Well, if you're George Gershwin, you go straight to the heart of the American music industry.
He landed a gig as a song plugger. The best way to think about this job, it's like he was a human Spotify playlist. Seriously, his whole job was to sit at a piano all day long and play the newest, hottest songs for customers who were coming in to buy the sheet music. He had to know every single track and play it perfectly right on the spot.
So this job was basically the ultimate training ground. It was like he was leveling up in a video game. By playing hundreds and hundreds of songs, day in and day out, he totally cracked the code. He figured out the secret formula for what made a song a hit. His piano skills got legendary, and it wasn't long before he started thinking, you know what, I can write songs that are way better than this stuff. And you know what? He was right. He wrote a song called Swanee. A really famous singer recorded it, and boom, it went viral. Well, 1920s viral. It sold over 1 million copies of sheet music, which was huge back then. And just like that, this kid from Brooklyn was an international superstar.
But just writing hit songs, that wasn't enough for him. Nope. He had a much bigger, much crazier idea. He wanted to create the ultimate musical mashup.
He wanted to answer this one huge question that was floating around. Could you actually take the sophisticated, serious world of a classical orchestra and smash it together with the raw, rhythmic, soulful energy of American jazz?
At the time, pretty much everyone in the music world was like, no way. The world was completely split. You had the serious music people in the fancy concert halls over here, and the fun music, jazz people in the clubs over there. And the experts all said you could not mix them. It just wasn't done. Well, Gershwin's answer was a piece called Rhapsody in Blue. This thing was a bold experiment. He took the giant, dramatic sound of a full orchestra, and he injected it with the rhythm, the energy, and the soul of the jazz he grew up loving. He used all those offbeat rhythms and soulful blue notes to make the music feel so alive. And guess what? He proved every single one of those doubters wrong. People went absolutely wild for it. Rhapsody in Blue became the ultimate musical crossover event. Like when your favorite pop artist does a collab with a rapper from a totally different scene. It was a massive global sensation.
But after that huge success, Gershwin didn't just stop and relax. No way. He was just getting started. He began exploring even further, mixing in sounds from literally everywhere he went.
So he takes a trip to Europe and comes back with this idea for a piece he called An American in Paris. And this is so cool. He wanted it to sound exactly like you were walking down a busy street in Paris. So what did he do? He actually wrote parts for real Parisian taxi horns to be played by members of the orchestra. It wasn't just a funny gimmick. It was him capturing the real sound of a real place.
Next up, he decided to take on opera. But he had his own idea, something he called a folk opera. So instead of the fancy, traditional European style about kings and queens, he wanted to create an opera that used the real music of everyday American people. You know, blues, spirituals, and folk songs.
And he was absolutely committed to getting it right. For his opera Porgy and Bess, he didn't just sit in New York and guess what the music of the African-American community in the South sounded like. No, he actually moved to South Carolina for a while, lived there, and just soaked up the culture and the music firsthand. He wanted it to be 100% authentic.
So all of this incredible work, the pop hits, the concert hall masterpieces, the groundbreaking operas, it all came together to create a legacy that basically remixed the sound of music forever.
But here's the most shocking part of this whole story. George Gershwin did all of this, and then he was gone. He died from a brain tumor when he was only 38 years old. Just 38, right at the absolute peak of his career. Just take a second and imagine what else he could have created.
But man, his impact was massive. He's the guy who smashed the wall between so-called high art and popular music. He proved that you could mix different styles to create something totally new and exciting. And in a lot of ways, he helped invent the soundtrack of modern America.
And this quote right here, it pretty much sums up his entire mission. He wasn't interested in writing old-fashioned music for a world that didn't exist anymore. He wanted to make music that sounded like his world, for his people, right here and right now.
So here's the big takeaway from all this. Gershwin's genius was seeing a connection where nobody else did. He took classical music and jazz, two totally separate worlds, and he mashed them up to create something legendary. So my question for you is this: what two different things in your world, maybe in school or in your hobbies or your passions, what could you mix together to create something totally new and totally amazing?